Near Mint Condition, the home of collected editions.
That cover's so awesome.
Absolute format is the best way to own this store. Time to empty those wallets and fill those shelves. Hey, all you Minties! Uncanny Omar here from Near Mint Condition, the home of collected editions. And join me today for your weekly overviews of these particular collected editions coming out for Marvel Comics this week. So let's go ahead and get started. Before going any further, a big thank you to David Gabriel and the fine folks at Marvel for sending us advanced copies of all of these books. All of these books are due out in the direct market and book market on June 18th or 19th, depending on where you get your books. And before we go any further, please don't forget to smash that like button. We've got a lot of good books this week. And every week, I do try to do my pick of the week, the book I'm most excited for, the one recommendation, my seal of approval. And let me tell you, it was difficult with, like, 3 of the very best. And this series was awesome, don't get me wrong. But, oh my gosh, how do you even pick one out of all of these? But we gotta pick one. So let's go ahead and start. Let's actually start with Uncanny Spider-Man, Fall of X. Uncanny Spider-Man, Fall of X. So this is a follow-up to all of the Cy Spurrier series that he has been writing at Marvel Comics. And focusing on, of course, Nightcrawler. And maybe a wall crawler. Now, what I always like to state, in case you have not read the latest X-Men Hellfire Gala, the one from 2023 that kicks off the Fall of X, there is talk of spoilers in here. Okay, let's go ahead and start for the people that don't care about spoilers or people that have already read that stuff. So it is written by Cy Spurrier. You do have Lee Garbett and Javier Pina doing some of the artwork, as well as Wilton Santos and Marcus Toe. Really like all of those artists that are working on this book and kind of bringing it all together. So I do have to give it to the colorist, Cecil de la Cruz and Matt Milla, that kind of bring everything together. So as I mentioned, the Fall of X kicked off with the Hellfire Gala with a bunch of deaths. So what exactly is collected in here? In here, you're going to get Uncanny Spider-Man 1 through 5 and X-Men Blue Origins. The book has 184 pages and retails for $24.99. Now, we do meet this new mysterious figure, but looks a lot like Nightcrawler, but why is he dressed as Spider-Man? Well, Sentinels are on the hunt. They are hunting down mutants, and Orchis has enacted this huge wave of attacks, destroying the Hellfire Gala, killing off a bunch of mutants. So Professor X said, hey, everybody with a mutant gene, get the heck out of Earth, because if they find any mutants, they're going to end up killing humans too. Now, those particular mutants that can fight off those telepathic attacks by Professor X are like, no way, I'm staying here. And that's sort of the really small synopsis as to what happened previously. So when the Sentinel is coming and searching for mutants, of course, if this is Nightcrawler, it's going to find out it's a mutant, but it doesn't. Doesn't find the genetic scan it's looking for, and it goes away. Now, that goes into a little bit of the mystery of what this series is about. So that is, in fact, Nightcrawler. And Nightcrawler was helping out some humans there at the very beginning, and yes, Sentinels are coming after mutants. He has this nice interaction with Spider-Man, and now he is going as the Uncanny Spider-Man. Not that there's enough Spider folks out there. A lot of this has to do with it being a redemption arc for the things that he's been blamed for doing, even though it was him, but not in control of himself. And to read about all that stuff, that big evolution of his character, that is all found in the pages of Legion of X, or any of the Cy Spurrier X-Men comics, which were phenomenal. Now, one interesting aspect of this story is that not a lot, some of the Spider foes from his rogue gallery, like the Vulture there, are now working with Orchis, or are going to be showing up through here. And you can see that they have the techno-organic stuff, the phalanx stuff, the same thing that Warlock is made out of. So how did they get that, and what exactly does that mean? Well, they are recruiting other mutants to help hunt down mutants that are still on Earth. And that is the introduction of something called the Hellhounds. Now, if you've been reading X-Men for a long time, you know what that could mean for future stories. No pun intended. So Nightcrawler does run up on Mystique, and this is when things get really interesting. Now, she's not the only character to come back, because we also get a 90s character. That's right, baby. Silver Sable's back. But this time in an X-Men book, and she plays heavy in this. She has an interesting relationship with Nightcrawler. We have the fight against the Rhino, and like I said, working with Orcus, a lot of these characters have been souped up. Now, with the reintroduction of Mystique, this becomes kind of a Nightcrawler and Mystique book. And it's an awesome take on their chemistry and their relationship. Because, this is one of those things that, by the way, mapped wonderfully. After issue 4 is where you jump into the X-Men Blue origins, and then you jump back to Uncanny Spider-Man 5. So I'm so glad they did that instead of putting the origins in the back. There's this whole debate, and long before there was the internet, the whole debate as to who is Nightcrawler's mother, who is his father, and then, of course, Mystique and Destiny. Long before the internet, long before there were forums, and I guess people fighting on social media nowadays. This is the kind of conversations we would have, like, at comic book stores. And I love that. I miss that. Because there were so many fan theories out there, as these are the Hellhounds, by the way. And this is who they've been kidnapping to be their Hellhounds. So there was a lot of mystery as to the lineage of Nightcrawler. Now, of course, we've had several stories over the years that have explained who his parents are, who his adopted parents are. Could he be the devil's child? Anyway, it is all finally set aside and explained here. And what's really awesome is that the way that it's told through here, like the real origin of Nightcrawler, is exactly the way a lot of us thought it was going to go. Mainly because we knew how Chris Claremont used to write these characters and the way that he hinted at things happening. And finally, when I got to interview him last year, I did ask him about this. And he basically said, well, yes, we were limited to what we could get away with back then because we had to answer to editorial. And there was no way in hell editorial was going to let us do the things that he wanted to do. So it's really cool to see finally an origin that is canon for the character of Nightcrawler. So if you've ever been wondering, or if you've been arguing with friends for decades as to the true lineage of Nightcrawler, here it finally is. Until the next retcon, that is. And then issue number 5. All the way in the back are the covers, all in splash pages, and then the variant covers as well. And some of them are in thumbnail size. But that is Uncanny Spider-Man Fall of X. Finally back in print. Star Wars Legends Epic Collection The Old Republic. This is the new printing. I don't have the old printing to compare it to, but I have done an overview of the omnibus if you want to go and watch that video and hit that like button, please. Now, this was supposed to come out in late April. However, when I got my early copy, I messaged Curtis and asked if his copy was like this too, where it was missing, if you can tell here, the logo. And it was, so I had to message Marvel and let them know, and they recalled it because it wasn't ready to go to print, because I got this right from the printer, so they hadn't printed all of the volumes yet. So they decided to stop that press and then actually do a proper printing. So here it finally is, coming out on June 18th or 19th, depending on where you get your books. Oh my gosh. I'm just going to go ahead and say, look, that, like, if I could put a seal of approval on each of these books, I would. But I can't. But this one is up there. It is so good. This collects Knights of the Old Republic 1 through 18, and then Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic 0. And John Jackson Miller, oh my gosh, he kills it with this. Brian Ching, Travel Foreman, Dustin Weaver, Harvey Talia Bao, and then Crystal Faith Celestial. The coloring here by Michael Atif and J. David Ramos. And then this explains when exactly this takes place. This book has 440 pages and retails, this printing retails for $44.99. I had never read this before reading the omnibus, So when the omnibus came in a couple of years ago, and that is also being reprinted, by the way, so you have an option. You can either go the Epic route, if that's your cup of tea, or you can get the omnibus that's coming back to print. Well, not until 2025, but still coming back to print. I had never read this. And I kind of stayed away from a lot of the Dark Horse stuff for years. So yes, this is part of the Legends line, meaning that it's part of the Dark Horse era. And probably on purpose, because I just thought, if I go down that rabbit hole, I'm just going to open up a floodgate. And then when they started printing them at Marvel, the Epic Collections, I got so many of them. And then I ended up letting them go because I was like, well, I'm not going to get them all. Maybe if they come out in omnibus format one day, I'll start getting them. And then sure enough, they did. And then I'm plugging in holes now with Epic Collections, which has been great. My point was, this completely blew me away. It was one of my favorite reads that year. As a matter of fact, it made it officially into my top 10 favorite reads of that year. It's amazing. If you haven't read this and you've trusted me before, like, go and read it. Don't even listen to the rest. Well, skip. Just go to the next book. Please. And if you don't, smash that like button. But it's just that good because it starts off with a mystery right off the bat. Like, there's issue 0 that establishes what kind of character that Jedi Zane Carrick is. But the rest of the book becomes this murder mystery that makes it amazing. So we are introduced in the first issue to this Jedi Zane Carrick, who is young. He has a master, so he's still in training. He's a little rough around the edges, and he's being late to the ceremony, but that's just the character that he is. He's running after this guy named Griff. He wants to capture him, and this is a long time before the Skywalker saga, about 1,000 years, if I remember correctly, before the Skywalker saga. So when he gets to this party, it's a celebration for all the Padawans, including his childhood friends. So this is when he gets together with everybody, including their masters, and it's a big hoorah. Now, he does get interrupted because he's trying to capture this guy right here, like I mentioned, Griff, and he goes after him. So Marn Hierogriff, in the end, kind of saves his life. So what happens is he goes after him, he ends up capturing him using the Force, and he goes back and tells his masters, he's like, I'm so sorry I'm late for the ceremony with the rest of the Padawans, but I got the guy. I finally caught him. And the Jedi Masters have killed their Padawans, his friends, his childhood friends, including Master Lucian here, who is his own teacher, the guy that he's trusted, almost like a father figure. And he leaves. He runs away. He's like, what happened? He doesn't understand what is going on. Why were his friends killed? Why were they killed by his teachers? And why are they after him? Like, Lucian, Master Lucian's like, hey, calm down, Zane. Look, you're going to play an important role in this. So he ends up jumping back on the same bike where he left Griff, and they get away from the rest of the Jedi. What ends up happening is that now he has been framed for the murder of his fellow Padawans. And now he is forming an alliance with Griff and a couple of other characters that you're going to be seeing through here. One of my favorite characters from the entire series shows up. And there she is right there. Jarell. I love this character. I think she's one of my favorite comic book characters. I haven't played the game. My brother has. So I don't know if she comes from the video game, but I absolutely love this character. So now he's got to clear his name. So there's a whole mystery as to why the Jedi did this to begin with. And what's going to happen, when he goes up over the head of his own master. What if he approaches the council? He approaches the Jedi Council. What are they going to say? Are they going to believe him when he tells them that, no, it was the Jedi Masters that killed their own Padawans, and I'm being framed? So it becomes this amazing story of just ripping and running and trying to get away. And then, of course, you've got this new Jedi Knight, Zane Carrick, who is not that great at being a Jedi. He kind of reminds me a lot of Luke Skywalker, but he does have a lot of badass moments in here. I'm not going to lie. There's some, even in the first volume, there's a couple of badass moments that happen that I'm like, yes, So you are in for a treat if you've never read the stuff in here. A lot of twists and turns because you never know, especially in a galaxy far, far away, who to trust. Right? Yeah, you see a pretty face and you immediately think, oh, Jarrell, she's, yeah, completely trustworthy. And what about Griff? You know, he was a villain to begin with. He's a freaking con artist. Do you keep trusting that guy or do you not? So, yeah, this was great. Oh my gosh, and there's so many awesome moments in here. And Volume 2, I don't think Volume 2 misses a beat. Now, there are little information bits in between issues. That's the way the extras are collected in here, because there's not many extras in the back. As a matter of fact, you just have these textless covers. So 440 pages, $44.99. But finally coming back to print, Star Wars Legends Epic Collection, The Old Republic, Volume 1. And here we go with a look at the spines of the books coming out this week, and also that reminder to smash that like button, please. And if you are enjoying the content of our channel, please subscribe. It goes a long way doing both of those, and also sharing our videos. I don't ask of that enough. I do forget to ask people to share our videos, but yeah, if you are enjoying the content and you want to let others know what kind of if you want to let others know what kind of content we put out, by all means, please share our videos. Alright, let's continue with the overview. Captain America Modern Era Epic Collection, Volume 1, and it was a no-brainer, but you kick it off with the Ed Brubaker era. This is Volume 1, The Winter Soldier. Now, this is probably regarded as one of the best, to a lot of people, the very best Captain America story. If you haven't read it and you have been waiting for this is another one. I'm going to be talking about some spoilers. And I know that, you know, people are like, what the hell, man? There's a movie called Winter Soldier. Everybody knows the secret. Just talk. I get it. But not everybody watches the movies. I know. I see it in my comment section. And not everybody is on the internet. Right? No social media. Man, y'all are lucky if you're not. But anyway, so yes, some spoilers I'm going to be talking about. So this does collect Captain America 1 through 17, the director's cut issue of number 1, and then the 65th anniversary special. So you do have Ed Brubaker writing the story, Steve Epting, and Javier Pulido, Marcos Martin doing some of the artwork, Mike Perkins doing some of the artwork, Lee Weeks, and Michael Lark, Jean-Paul Leon. This book has 472 pages and retails for $44.99. And one interesting thing about this particular collection is that this collection doesn't miss issue 18. I've seen a lot of collections, complete collections, that skip on issue 10. Not 8. Did I say 18? Oh my gosh. How many videos am I filming today? That skip issue 10, and that's because issue 10 is one of those issues that just kind of stops the flow of the story because it's part of the House of M storyline. So it's a different Captain America, and I'll look a little bit at it here. It's not where it's supposed to be, and that might get on people's nerves. Like, it's not after issue 9, before issue 11. What they did is put it all the way in the back. But I like that because to me, collected editions are making this the best reading experience possible. It's not about printing the issues in publishing order. Because as some of you all know that have been collecting comics for a long time, publishing order doesn't make a lick of sense sometimes. Sometimes there's delays. I remember crossovers, not just Marvel, but DC, Image, like, where part 5 came out before part 3. So things like that. So publishing order sometimes don't make a lick of sense. Okay, so what is this book about? Well, we have a mystery. And the mystery is somebody is going around killing people. Somebody's going around and killing villains. And somebody is going around killing people that are close to Captain America. Now, he is sharing a lot with Sharon Carter. So we do have the return of that wonderful character. And there's a lot of flashbacks here to his past. One of the characters that is killed off, I'm only going to talk about this one because there's a lot of characters that died through here that have ties to Captain America. One of the characters that dies through here is the Red Skull. He gets shot. So this mystery person ended up shooting him. And he's talking to somebody on the phone saying, mission accomplished. General, the cube is yours. The Red Skull, no trouble at all, sir. So the Red Skull is left for dead. Now, of course, this is comics, so you can guess when the Red Skull will be back. Now, Captain America keeps having flashbacks again from World War II, having a sidekick with the name Bucky Barnes, and of course, that's Bucky, right? That's his buddy, who we know has been dead for a long time. And there is this mystery as to who killed the Red Skull and how exactly did they kill somebody so powerful. As I mentioned, it is a whole, 70s espionage type of story that a lot of us loved. I mean, this blew me away. I have recommended this particular story to so many people to get into the character of Captain America. I think it is the easiest way to get into the character. It's modern, it's wonderful, and I'm just going to go ahead and say it. It's not my favorite run by any means. My favorite run is still probably Mark Gruenwald's run after all these years. But I can completely agree with everybody that says this is so much easier to get into because of the mystery, because of the way it's written. Even the artwork through here, it just has this movie-style quality to it. Oh, it's amazing. And that's why this book, oh my gosh, gets the seal of approval from me. It is great if you haven't read it. So it is later on revealed. Oh, this is like one of the saddest issues right here. The Nomad issue with Jack Monroe. Oh, dude. This one is so heartbreaking, especially if you used to read Nomad in the 90s. And some people haven't recovered from that issue. What was I saying? Oh, yes. Murder mystery. Lots of twists and turns in this one. Who to trust, especially when you're dealing with the Cosmic Cube. And then, of course, who is behind all the murders? Who is the Winter Soldier? And what are his ties to Captain America? And we also have Crossbones and Red Skull's daughter, Sin, here, doing their own thing, like carving their way through chaos and destruction to kind of set up the new era of the Red Skull, because they are also wondering who murdered the Red Skull. So nobody really knows. And that does get resolved in this issue, or in this volume. Let's look at the 65th anniversary special here with artwork by Javier Pulido and Marcos Martin, which is like a flashback issue with Captain America and Bucky. And then with Captain America and Bucky. And then we get the issue number 10. So it is all the way in the back. It explains what House of M is. But yes, this is a alternate reality Captain America that is living in this House of M. So it makes sense why they decided to stick it in the back. And then the director's cut here with the pitch for the Captain America by Ed Brubaker, the script right here, and the freedom of speech by Kurt Busiek. The issue number 6 cover and the direct market cover, or the variant covers too. The cover roughs and the layouts by Steve Epting. And character designs right here of the Winter Soldier and Sin. Marvel Spotlight on Ed Brubaker. So it does have the interview. So we've seen this stuff collected in omnibus format. We've seen it collected in, this is the hardcover, afterward by Ed Brubaker. We've seen it collected in complete collections, hardcovers, and in trade paperbacks. But this is the first time that it's being collected in a modern Epic collection without missing issue 10. 472 pages, $44.99. Last but certainly not least is The Amazing Spider-Man Marvel Masterworks Volume 26. This is the direct market cover that has the volume, the main volume number of all the Marvel Masterworks volumes there on the spine. But everything underneath is exactly the same. So let's go ahead and turn this era. Oh my gosh, I don't think this era has been collected that well. Like, maybe a couple of issues have been collected from this era, but definitely not the whole thing. So this is very exciting. So this is Amazing Spider-Man. Here are the credits. Tom DeFalco, Susan Putney, who did the graphic novel, the Hooky graphic novel that's in here. Oh my gosh, that has art by Bernie Wrightson. And then you have Steve Ditko and Charles Vest doing those illustrations. Then the penciling and layouts by Ron Frenz and Sal Buscema. And the finishers, Joseph Rubinstein and Kyle Baker, Tom Morgan, lettering by Joe Rosen and others. And then Nell Yomov doing the colors, and Bob Sharon and others there. So here's the table of contents. And then your introduction by none other than the series editor at the time, Christopher Priest, talking about his time and how he would get together with Tom DeFalco, have bagels. I love when they talk about this personal stuff and then sit around and just complain about people. I love that. So it's a lot of behind the scenes stories, and then trying to figure out what to do with Spider-Man when you had Jim Shooter there. That was kind of like pushing people to make the very best books possible. Then, of course, behind the scenes when there's delays and stuff like that. So collected in here is Amazing Spider-Man 271 to 278 and Spectacular Spider-Man 111, Marvel Graphic Novel 22, which is Hooky, and then material from Marvel Fanfare 27. And we started with this amazing story of Crusher Hogan. This book has 352 pages, by the way, and retails for $75. Who's Crusher Hogan? Crusher Hogan is a wrestler that he fought in Amazing Spider-Man number 15. So whatever happened to him? Oh man, he turned his life around. Nathan. Poor Nathan. I think it happens in this issue. He turned his life around. He kind of stopped being a bum, and he becomes like Spider-Man's #1 fan. I love this particular story. It's these kind of stories that keep me interested in Spidey. And Nathan suffers a beatdown from a mysterious group of people. Who are these people who are picking on this old guy in a wheelchair? And there's Crusher right there. Oh, what a happy ending for him. Not so much for Aunt May and Nathan. And then we have the introduction of Slide. This one has inks or finishing art actually by Kyle Baker. So it looks a little bit different than the rest of the issues in here by our pal Sal. And then the Beyonder steps in for a couple of issues here. We have the return of the Puma. And then we have the big issue of 275. But that crosses over into the Peter Parker Spectacular Spider-Man 111 first. So, again, the fight against the Puma. And then the Beyonder when he's walking here. And leading up to the ending of the the Secret Wars 2. And this is, I love this cover, issue 274, where Spider-Man has to confront a lot of his past. And, you know, even during this time, a lot of his past has been rough. This one is, like, I think it's John Romita Sr., if I'm not mistaken, doing some of the artwork in here. Let's see, Ron Frenz, Tom DeFalco. I could have sworn he did some. Oh, here we go. Tom Morgan, James Fry, and then John Romita Sr. Additional finishes. And then background inks, Russ Stevens. So it's still Ron Frenz and Tom DeFalco, but they do get some help. So confronting some past in nightmare form, which is the worst way for this character to confront his past. In issue 275, we do get the return of the green. In issue 275, we do get the return of the Hobgoblin. Now, of course, the Hobgoblin was first established by Roger Stern. Uncle Raj first brought him into Spider-Man during his run, and there was a whole mystery as to who he was. Well, that answer is finally found in these very pages. I'm not going to talk about who because I want people to be surprised as to who could be the Hobgoblin. This is one of my favorite moments right here. It's when Peter Parker and MJ are talking. And he's telling her about his past as Spider-Man. And he does it by reprinting Amazing Fantasy 15 by Stan Lee and Steve Ditko. And of course, I think it's been recolored though this time around. And I love that. I thought that is such a cool way to put this into the book. And let's see. Yeah, it is recolored by Andy Yancha. Or Yenchis, sorry. But that was such a cool issue. I think the revelation is coming as to who the Hobgoblin is. And I remember when these issues were coming out, the Spider people, and I called that the people that collect the Spider-Man at the comic shop, were divided. They were like, that is not the original idea, and some were happy with it. And then, of course, was that really the Hobgoblin? Years later, the Hobgoblin Lives explains a lot of what ends up happening, or what should have happened. through these issues. This is a split issue right here, so I skipped all that, by the way, so you don't find out who it is through a video. You can read it yourself. This has the Hobgoblin story, the remaining story in there, and then the Cry of the Wendigo, which is all the way back here, which has art by Charles Vess, which is what I wanted to show. Just beautiful, but it's also the backup story of that particular issue. And then we continue with Amazing Spider-Man 278. This one's really interesting because this one has... it's a continuation a little bit, or rather finishing out some plot holes from the story of Jean DeWolf when she was murdered in those pages, the death of Jean DeWolf. But it is her brother that's trying to get revenge. This makes for a really interesting story because this is also crossing over into the Scourge storyline, which is happening at the time in Captain America. Her brother, of course, is the Wraith. And then, let's talk about this beautiful piece right here for a little bit. Just show you some artwork. This is the Susan Putney and Bernie Wrightson graphic novel. And that is Hooky. So this one's really interesting. Oh, look at this double page spread. It's just absolutely stunning. And I mean interesting because it's not like your average Spider-Man story, or, we saw that he's fighting the Hobgoblin and he's fighting his rogue gallery through here, and we have new villains. But this one is like he swept away from his life here and goes into this fantasy world, and he's taking to this fantasy world. It's almost like an isekai in a way, by this young sorceress who ends up needing him. But I'm not going to spoil what exactly she needs him for. What I want to show you is just this beautiful artwork. Then, of course, the body horror that Bernie Wrightson adds to all of his stories. Just awesome. Yes. And then there's a little backup story here, too. This is Spider-Man. This is Spidey Gets Antsy by Mark Hempel. And then the extras in the back. The stuff from Marvel Age. The archives here revealing the original take on the background for Amazing Spider-Man 278. Original artwork. And house ads. Original art by Bernie Wrightson. And then how they did the lettering for that particular graphic novel. Marvel Tales, reprinting those classic issues. Introduction by Stan Lee to the very best of Spider-Man. I used to have this, so that's what I thought. They did reprint some of these stories in the past. 271 is the issue that was reprinted in that. And then Marvel Tales. Oh, there was an afterword by Danny Fingeroth. Marvel Tale covers here. Oh, there's the Human Fly. This came polybagged with this particular 16-page preview of the 94-98 Spider-Man animated series. And then the bio on these wonderful legendary creators. 352 pages, $75. And that, as they say, is that. If you're interested in purchasing any of these books, don't forget to check out our sponsor, cheapgraphicnovels.com, your online home for graphic novels and collected editions up to 50% off cover price. They have excellent shipping and prompt and helpful service. Check out their bargain deals for up to 90% off cover price. And don't forget that CGN also takes pre-orders. That way you don't miss out on the hottest releases. And they are currently running a special promotion for you Minties. If you're a first-time customer, after receiving your order confirmation email, reply back to that email and let them know Near Mint Condition sent you their way. They will then apply a free shipping promotional credit to your next order in the US. Cheap Graphic Novels, your source for the hottest books with the kind of deep discount, quality shipping, and customer service that will keep you coming back for more. And that was the content and page count of each of these books. Let me know in the comments down below which ones you are picking up, which ones you're hoping will come out in an omnibus format if they haven't yet, and of course, if you collect the Masterworks or the Epic collections and you're getting into the modern epics. If you have any questions, leave them down below. Everybody, stay healthy and safe out there. Much love.